Bramble Football Club is proudly sponsored by Glasby Pallets, offering a one-stop solution for all of your pallet needs. Get in touch now on 01709 585 646 to discuss your pallet requirements. And thank you again to Sonny and the team for their continued support of Ramble FC.
Good evening. Welcome to Top 20 Takes, guys. I just wanted to mention about Sonny Glasby. I'm hoping to catch up with him soon enough. I missed him after one of the games the other day. So thanks again to Sonny for sponsoring the stream today. We are a little bit late, so we have to make our apologies. We've had some logistical fiascos going on. You'll notice Lewis isn't in his usual domain. He's been here, there, and everywhere, and today, and just about managed to get to his hotel room following a few minor diversions, but here we are, guys, for the top 20 takes. Hello, Lewis. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Now, yeah, I'm not sweating as much as I perhaps should be. It was a bit of a wild day, but a very good day, as you know. So, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, big weekend in the Premier League. Plenty of goals and incidents to talk about. We are lucky enough today as well. We've got our resident referee expert Gaz Dunn coming on later just to talk through some of the decisions. I often find myself bemoaning some of these decisions, so it'd be nice to have someone to come on and explain what they've been given for and why they've been given. So yeah, but we're going to start down at the London Stadium, where there was a little bit of an epic match. A West Ham side that have been a little bit more resurgent recently, with Callum Wilson getting himself back on some score sheets, and of course Unai Emery and his Aston Villa revolution. What was the story of this game then, Lewis? Tell me about it.
Yeah, West Ham 2, Aston Villa 3, and West Ham seeking to jump out the bottom 3, but against a team in red hot form, with 9 wins in the last 10 games in Aston Villa. It's really the form team in the division. Crazy start to this one. Mateus Fernandes and Jared Bowen both getting on the score sheet either side of a Mavropanos own goal that levelled for Villa. All this inside the opening 25 minutes. And then Morgan Rogers is the one that has the ultimate say, converting the equaliser from a Tielemans cross. And scoring a peach from 25 yards for the winner. 2 questions for Man Mountain. Do we have to take Villa seriously as title contenders now? And does Morgan Rogers start for England as it stands?
Oh, mate, one at a time, please. Crikey.
Questions.
I'll be here 20 minutes now. Very good questions, mate. Obviously, Villa have been in the Champions League in recent years before. I still think it's a bit early because we've seen this before from sides who have done very well early doors in the division, and towards after Christmas, when the games come thick and fast, a couple of injuries to a couple of key players, and things can change. The thing with Villa at the minute is I think they're edging teams by the odd goal. I think they've got some outstanding individuals, and like you've just mentioned, Tielemans, he really makes things tick for him in the centre of the park, but also they've got a young man who is right in there in a conversation to try and throw some light on your second question. He's in there. He's in a position in the team for England, and he has played recently and been favoured by Tuchel. And he's in there with Bellingham, and now an outstanding Phil Foden, who people say isn't the same player out wide. So I don't think Tuchel's going to be too worried about that position, but he will have to make some big decisions, because on this form, Rodgers, the thing I love about him is when he takes the ball, he commands it with authority, and his manipulation in and around the edge of the box. Strike is world class. Weekend for the second goal, no doubt about it. An absolutely brilliant winner from him. Yeah, and he's such a young player. There's still room to improve, and I think that's for England fans this summer. For the first time ever, I am going to sit here and say, with that kind of depth coming off the bench or even starting the games, we've got to be thinking the thing a lot of England fans think, but no. Again, well, it's early days. When the tournament kicks in, I believe England are one of about 5 or 6 teams that could win it, and I think on any day there's probably those teams could turn each other over. I'm talking about your Spains, your Frances, your Argentinas. I'd put England in that bracket now because of the quality we've got. And some of the problem positions we've solved, but yeah, you've managed to throw me right off for that, mate. So well done. But no, I think it's very exciting, and I don't think it's anything to fear or agonise over too much.
Yeah, and well, I would go along with that, and I think Morgan Rogers for me continues to impress, and I've liked him when he's played for England as well. So yeah, lots of options, as you say, lots of depth.
Yeah. We go to again a team I've started as quite an unpredictable team in Tottenham Hotspur, certainly are visiting the City ground. Nottingham Forest, I think, are again two different teams, home and away. Would you say, without the sing song and remembering the theme from the soap, they are a different side, home and away, aren't they?
They very much seem to be, and now 4 points separating these two teams. Beforehand, rather before the game, and Forest looking to bounce back in the league after winning Europe. Spurs looking for back-to-back league wins, as you say. Very different home and away. On 29 minutes, Callum Hudson-Odoi opened the scoring. Profited from some overplaying at the back from Spurs. I don't know if you caught that goal. Absolute gift from Vicario, who's been exposed for mistakes once or twice recently, and just put RG Gray in a world of trouble with a pass out from the back, and they profit from it. But Hudson-Odoi makes it 2 in the second half. Don't know if he meant it as a cross or a shot, but it was fun to watch. At least bent on him from wide on the left. Sangare lets fly with a spectacular effort for the third. I don't know, mate. Do we know who either of these teams are this season? Obviously, you referenced the Jekyll and Hyde nature of one of the teams. Models of inconsistency, yet capable of so much more, and I would say that for both teams, really. Is Thomas Frank under pressure, do you think?
I think it's difficult to put him under pressure simply because of what happened last season with Spurs. It was a total car crash under Postecoglou. I think most footballing people would say I think they quite like Thomas Frank. I certainly do. I think he comes across exceptionally well. He had a good start there, didn't he? And it has hit the skids a little bit for him in terms of consistency and results. It's very, very difficult. They're a much more much bigger wage bill, much more ability in the team than where they find themselves currently in the table. And when that's the case at big clubs, Spurs are a big club, managers will always find themselves under pressure in that scenario. I think when you look at last year to this year, it would be extremely harsh to sack him in January based on what happened, what the difference between the two seasons. They are actually doing better this year than they were last year. So it would be extremely harsh. And I think he comes across well. I think he's got a suss out who he wants to keep and wants to get rid of, because I don't think he's had a lot of input on the playing staff. And I think if you're going to give a manager a job, you've got to give him a chance to get his own team together. And I'd certainly be giving him more of a chance, but we'll have to wait and see. If they lose 2 or 3 on the spin, I think most managers in this division, bar 1 or 2, are going to be in quite big trouble, because expectations are high, even if occasionally they're unrealistic. So yeah, I think he could be under a bit of pressure. I mean, Dyche going in there, I think he'll keep Nottingham Forest out of the woods. I think he'll guide them somewhere towards the middle, towards the end of the season. But it just begs the question. We'll look at the table in a bit as to who is going to be in that dogfight. Because if you look down there, there's not a great deal. If someone gets to a couple of victories on the bounce, they can get themselves out of trouble pretty quickly. So yeah, there is that. We spoke about that position, and I spoke about a resurgent Phil Foden, an amazing season followed by a poor season, followed by we're looking a little bit more like it again, and obviously with Erling Haaland, who's the goal machine. They played out a comfortable 3-0 victory over a very, very, very well drilled and coached Crystal Palace team.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting fixture for me coming into this one with Palace on the cusp of the top 4. Man City hunting Arsenal down, having also beaten Real Madrid in the week. So lots of interesting factors coming into this. And after not being in the game at all for 40 minutes, Haaland does what all good strikers do, peeling away from his marker and finding space to head home a Nunes cross to make it 1-0. So not in the game at all. And then just has that impact that, he can have. Foden with the second. You mentioned Phil Foden, seems to be back to his best at the moment. Wonder if the recent emergence of plentiful attacking talent for England has kicked him up the bum. That's the kind of impression I get from his uplifting performances. Just my opinion. But Haaland converts a penalty for the third. Really surprisingly comfortable win for City. Were you impressed with him here, Paul? I was, because I felt it looked, certainly they made it look and feel very routine against a very good side with a good defensive record on their own patch.
I think there'll be some Arsenal fans with some squeaky bottoms around this country, because they're what was looking like not a cruise to the finish line, was looking like people making them huge favourites for this title, and they're what they're witnessing now is a side that can go to the Bernabeu and routinely turn over a Real Madrid side who've won 15 Champions Leagues, come back to the league and turn over a side that is doing exceptionally well in Crystal Palace with relative ease. It's all smelling like City are hitting form at the time when teams do that. And Manchester City, they're long-time rivals. If you ever watched their team after Christmas, that was when the accelerator was pedal to the metal, shall we say, and they seldom lost many games. And I think it feels like City are just about going to come back and bite Arsenal. So at this point in time, things change quite quickly. But you look at their squad, I think Jeremy Doku's just been incredible this season. I think he looks like he's stepped on a level. Reinders looks like a goal-scoring midfielder that they thought they were going to get last year when they brought Gundogan back. I think Reinders is an improvement. He looks very, very lively indeed. And they're still missing one man in the midfield who still isn't there. And if he gets his fitness back towards the end of this season, they're going to be a tricky customer to stop. So we will have to wait and see on that one. But no, on to Liverpool. A stuttering Liverpool, back to a bit of normal for Liverpool at Anfield.
Yeah, Ekitike at the double again, as he was at Ellen Road the previous week. So much needed win for Arne Slot, obviously, against dangerous opposition as well. Brighton went close numerous times as well and really could have had 2 or 3 goals themselves. I thought they stayed in the game. And you always know, sign of a very good team at that level is one that can go to a place like that, go behind and stay in the game and create chances. And notably, Mo Salah came off the bench quite early in the game. I think it was after 26 minutes. How do you see the Mo Salah saga playing out, Paul? I know I'm putting you on the spot with this one. It's a big subject. Do they kiss and make up, or will he be off to Saudi in January?
Oh gosh. Well, let's have this right from the start, because he has been a shadow of himself this season. So I would say that Salah would have had a genuine grievance if he'd played 2 or 3 matches and he wasn't to the level that we thought he should be, or he wasn't showing any kind of form. I think he had 15 games where he wasn't really at the races for me. And it's the manager's prerogative to pick his team, in my opinion. So I know what a legend he has been. His numbers are staggering, and he's done it for season after season for about 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it is. And and deservedly, he's a Premier League legend. It all smelt a little bit of the Cristiano Ronaldo thing at United not that long ago. It's kind of had that little feel to it. Not so much from Slot. I think that he was right to drop him on form. I think if you watch the games, he's literally been anonymous in a lot of games this season. And I think he was right to drop him personally. I think he needs to. He'll certainly regret how he's gone about it, because for me, these conversations are conversations you need to have in private. And his legacy at Liverpool will forever be an amazing one. But has it just thrown a little bit of shade on it? Possibly. Certainly, I think if he goes in this January, it'll be made a big deal of this, to be honest. It'll be bigger than it probably needs to be. But if I was the manager, I'd be like, you don't do that, mate. I think if Slot had gone for him in the press and he responds different, but I think the way he went about it was a little bit childish.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, and it's an unfortunate situation. You hope he doesn't take his legacy there, because he's been a fabulous player for them. But I tend to agree. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out going into the new year. These things always seem to happen before a transfer window as well, don't they?
Well, again, and the other factor will be the offer. So if the offer for Salah makes sense, and if the offer for Liverpool makes sense, it's, you know, I think it might be time to cash in potentially based on what we've seen this season. So we will say anyway. There'll be some Liverpool fans tell me I don't know what I'm on about, but I think it's one to watch, that's for sure. On to Arsenal, down to the Emirates, who are playing the side who've got 2 points this season. Top versus bottom. Should have been on everybody's accumulator sheet if you like a little bet in moderation. You'd have a home banker. Would probably the first one would have been clicked on for everybody up and down this division. Wolves made a great fist of it again, and are doing so a little bit more than before. I still fear for them, obviously, with a lack of goals in the side. I think that's the biggest worry for them at the moment. But they've gone to Arsenal and given it a really good go, and it was a last gasp effort that sort of snatched it away from Wolves, that point.
Yeah, and obviously it gets Arsenal back to winning ways, but via 2 own goals. Wolves must have broken some mirrors on the eve of this. So cruel, given the season that they're having. It wasn't until the 78th minute that there finally was a goal, and it's given as a Sam Johnston own goal. Saka kills in a corner, which clips Johnston's fingers, as I remember it, and then goes in off his back, ultimately. Tolu rises highest to nod the ball past Raya, and it looked like Wolves had pinched an unlikely point. The winner 4 minutes later comes from good work by Saka, and it looked initially like Jesus had scored, but Mosquera's credited with an own goal. Have Arsenal got away with one here, Paul? I mean, and Wolves. I mean, Wolves win a game. You know, will Wolves win a game? I just wanted to get to. Will they win a game before the new year?
I'd be more hopeful Wolves will win a game based on what I've seen in more recent games. The Man United one aside, which I thought was, it was. They didn't look the level, but I think it's the sort of game where you go at the end of the season, if those points matter, it might be one where you go, that's the game where the champions win. That's what I would say. It's the one where you don't play well, you scrape through against someone you're expected to beat, and those points might be a difference at the end of the year. Who knows? They'll obviously hope for better performances, especially at home. But the busy weeks, these, when you have to go and play Champions League and you've been in the fixture list and you've got a couple of injuries and players are just slightly not at the races. You can catch people on an off day and it can derail titles. But Arsenal got the job done, and I think that's what the message will be to the players, not to let it run so close. Up to the northeast. Now, I watched this game, and there was a lot of kicking, there was a lot of running, there was a few tackles, there was a bit of there's a few bits of crowd interaction, should we say? It was quite a feisty affair. It was decided quite strangely. I thought it was a hell of a header if it had been the other end. But Sunderland just continue to absolutely gatecrash this league, and obviously the satisfaction of beating your nearest rivals, massive for them. Their celebrations on the pitch worthy of the type of occasion it was. A real lack of quality in the game from what I saw, mate.
Yeah, I would agree, mate. I mean, who doesn't love a time where derby? And I watched this one live as well. Newcastle forced to play in their away kit due to Premier League rules, apparently. Not having it, mate. A departure from tradition for me. I don't like it. I like to see the black and white stripes against the red and white. Just me. Probably a lot of people, actually. But goalless first half, where Sunderland tried to take the game to Newcastle and had a couple of moments. but not a great deal of note produced, as you say. I didn't see a lot of quality, particularly in that first half, 0-0 at half-time. Early in the second half, and you referenced it a moment ago, dear, oh dear. I mean, if I was playing in this game, the very last thing I would want to be remembered for is an own goal. And Voltemada heads in off the underside of the bar from a Sunderland cross. As you say, if it had gone in at the other end, it would be considered a fantastic header and a great goal in a derby. But 1-0, that's how it stayed. Not much in the way of big chances. I agree with you. There wasn't a lot of quality in this game. Sunderland dug in and kept the door locked. I thought they defended very well when they had to. Surely other clubs have got to have one eye on Regis Labrie. They must be looking at him, Paul, because the job he's doing there. And okay, it's first season. You always worry about second season syndrome. Any team that's done well when they come up. But I don't see with them that there will be a huge drop off. I think they're building something, and again they grind out a result here in a tense atmosphere.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely. And onto what felt a bit more routine down at Stamford Bridge. Do you want to tell us about that, mate? I had a vested interest. I've got Gusto is one of my players in my JFG league that I take part in, and he certainly he didn't do. Oh, hello. He didn't do himself any harm to me for this game.
No, and Chelsea see what they've been missing as well with Cole Palmer returning to make an impact. So he scores in the 21st minute to give Chelsea the lead, and then your mate Gusto makes it 2-0 after really good work from Pedro Neto as well just before half time. I thought Chelsea were decent value for the win, mate. I mean, they're now 8 points from the league leaders. Obviously, they had a couple of dodgy results prior to this. Any chance they come back into contention now that their star players back, do you think? Or do you think it's more a case of them looking at getting into the top four?
I think realistically this season for Chelsea, they'll be looking a top four finish and re-qualifying for the Champions League would be a good season for them. Looking at the two sides at the top, I don't see them quite at that level at the minute. But then when we look at the table, we'll see that there is opportunities there. And there are sides that they will think that they could and should be ahead of at this stage. So Cole Palmer will make a big difference, obviously. They have got some excellent, outstanding players. I think on the day, they're another side who could beat anybody, really, looking at the league at the minute. So, yeah, I mean, they'll fancy it. But I don't think Everton are a pushover nowadays either. They've got a lot of talent in attack. We spoke about the three behind the striker that we really, really like. They've been quite solid. Michael Keane's found form from somewhere amazingly and is keeping it solid with Tarkowski at the back. And obviously Pickford has been outstanding in recent years. Still likes to chuck one in every now and then. But no, it's a good win for Chelsea. 2-0 to Chelsea. I think the fans will go home happy. And it's not a place where you'd expect to go. And if you're Everton, you won't be expecting too much from the fixture. Although they are quietly capable, I'd say. Next one is Burnley and Fulham. So this one was it was quite an exciting game, really. Again, the thing for Burnley, they're always in it for me. They've done really well this season in being able to compete. Goals. They've scored 2 today, but they scored 2 in the game and still came away with nothing. That's a problem, isn't it? But when you look at the sides and you look at what Fulham have at the top of the pitch, it looks like it should be too much. Do you agree? Or
I think so, mate. I think that I'd go along with that. I mean, if Burnley are going to make a fist of staying up, Fulham at home, with all due respect to Fulham, who I agree have some very good players, particularly at the top of the pitch, it still should be a target game for Burnley to try and take some points from at Turf Moor. Is it ever that simple, though? I mean, Smith Rowe taps on from a corner inside the first 10 minutes. I mean, honestly, mate, this goal was just such poor defending. No one alive to it. It was so easy. Around 10 minutes later, Burnley level, Ugachukwu with a well-timed run. Again, though, I thought it was a bit easy. Poor defending from Fulham.
So well done on the pronunciation there, mate. I was trying to say it earlier. I couldn't manage it myself. So well done.
I've been like John Watson reading him out at night time in bed, and it sounds a bit strange shouting men's names out, isn't it? But there we go. Not long before Fulham edge in front again, and Harry Wilson, a man who we've sung the praises of, in far too much space, and picks out Calvin Bassey, who heads home. Wilson pops up for the third.
Shirley's lad. I call him Shirley's lad.
Shirley's lad, yeah. Wilson popping up for the third before Burnley score a late second goal. Another game where Burnley had just edged out. Like you say, it's looking increasingly tough for them, isn't it? And I think their apparent difference in quality at the top of the pitch versus some of their opposition is what's going to make the difference. Again, like you say, I think they've made a good fist of it. They've been in games, but I just don't feel like they're going to have enough at this stage.
Yeah, I think the table will reflect that as well. Despite them being competitive, it's the accumulation of points that's going to be their problem. Brentford and Leeds. Now we're talking about a Leeds side who we feel like they're definitely getting closer, aren't they? And they've got a man up front who's got some pedigree, struggle with injuries in Calvert-Lewin, who is just starting to show a bit of what he's got, and a great goal, I have to say, from a great ball in. And if you've got Calvert-Lewin in your team, if you can replicate that kind of service, goals will come.
They will. A decent game of football, this, actually, and another good point for Leeds, especially coming from a goal down away to a good side in Brentford. Jordan Henderson giving Brentford the lead. What a signing he's been for them. Nice tribute to Diogo Jota on the celebration as well. I clocked that one. And Calvert-Lewin, as you say, levelling with a header on the end of a cross you'd dream about as a centre forward from Nonto, who had just come off the bench. Leeds
underused this season, Lewis. Sorry to interrupt you. Just Nonto, James. Are these people who Leeds they're sort of, I don't know, they're not utilising enough for me in terms of what they can bring to the table from an attacking sense. I know they want to stay in games and there's a structure to it all. Are they getting underused, those two?
Well, possibly. I sometimes wonder when I see that they're not on the team sheet or that they're sat on the bench, I do wonder whether it's a structural, tactical decision by Farke to go with something a little bit more solid, maybe. And I'm not suggesting that Daniel James and Nonto don't track back enough. I possibly don't watch them closely enough to be able to determine that. But they are high-line attacking players. You want them to stay up the pitch and provide an attacking outlet. I just wonder if sometimes it's a tactical thing, and maybe that's the reason they've sort of been held back from starting games.
For me, a good tactical thing is if you've got Nonto who can whip a ball in like that and they score an header like that with Calvert-Lewin who needs that kind of service. To me, it just makes a lot of sense, and I think that Farke may get a bit more of the wrath, and he's had plenty of it from the Leeds fans if these lads are sat kicking their heels when they're losing matches. That's all I'm going to say about that one. I want to move on to the final game, which is a bit of a blockbuster Monday night fixture at Old Trafford. Now, in recent times, and I never thought I'd say this when I was growing up, Bournemouth going to Man United was not a sure thing for anybody involved in that game, and they're both obviously are now being at scoring more goals. Like they look like they're creating a lot more chances. Bournemouth have, are just. I mean, Semenyo as well. I think he's the outstanding man at their club at the minute. But they've come such a long way. Man United looking better in attack, but an absolute blockbuster, mate. Tell me about this game.
Where do you start? I mean, I was sat watching this with my dad, and we rarely watch games together, and we were riveted. I mean, we towards the end of it, we're saying someone's definitely going to score a fifth here. You could just, and Bournemouth very nearly did. In fact, David Brooks, a player we know pretty well, nearly got on the score sheet. Yeah, so close. Some good goalkeeping from the Man United end of things, and some cracking goals in it as well. Right before the Tavernier free kick, my dad said he's going to score from this. Just concedes in a really good position. Sure thing, sure as anything, he scores. And then I said the same thing about the Bruno Fernandes one later, where he puts it in a spot where I don't think there's many keepers, if any, in the world would get to it. But just feels very typical of Man United for me in terms of they've got so much attacking quality. They've got so many good players at the top of the pitch that can cause you problems. But there just seems to be there's a soft element to the middle of them. and you can always get at them. I mean, at one time you go to Old Trafford and you go behind at any point in the game, it's over. Growing up, I just didn't see Man United surrendering a lead at Old Trafford. Now they could be 2-0 up, and teams think they can win 3-2. That just seems to be how they are at the moment. There's so much talent there. But they've never addressed some long-term problems for me, Paul. It's sort of, I put myself in the mindset of a Man United supporter. I'm not a Man United supporter, but it's frustrating to see that year after year they don't address certain things. Centre of the park, centre half. It's just not quite right still, is it?
No. And the goalkeeper, Lemons, I think he's got something to offer. Obviously, he's still very young. You look at the side, and Mason Mount is actually looking more like the Mason Mount of quite a few years ago. And then you throw into the mix, you've got obviously Cunha in there, and you've got Mbeumo who are good for a goal. Bruno's got bags of quality. There's loads of that going forward. But like you say, the back door always looks like it might be open. And and it's something that, at least they're scoring goals. At least they're a good watch now at the minute, Man United, in terms of an attacking sense. So I'm sure the supporters will get on board with a bit of the attacking excitement. Just one comment. There's a few. Hi guys, how's it going? Hello Russ, thanks for joining us as well. There is a little comment here that I just wanted to highlight from Mark Melger here. City will win the league, in my opinion, playing in third gear. I think they're probably out of third gear for some games recently, but I see them as a side who it feels ominous, doesn't it, mate?
It does, and like you say, if they get one or two other key players back up to a level and playing, you just think it has all that feeling of them hitting top gear going into the second half of the season, as you say. I think critical to it all as well is the fact that Haaland's having a very good season again, and clearly that's going to be so important to them. But it's taking them some time to get back to where they were. I think they're obviously turning the squad over a little bit the last year, 18 months, freshening it up, making it a bit younger. But some players starting to come to the fore, as you say. So yeah, ominous for Arsenal.
If Rodri gets himself back to fitness, mate, this side are going to start to look pretty scary, I would say, for a lot of clubs. So in the Champions League and in the Premier League. But no, I want to bring Gaz in now, because he quite often when I'm being entertained by the football, the one thing that always gets my goat is some of the refereeing. And with Gaz here, he's an assistant referee, still operating at a national level. It's Gaz Dunn. Welcome to the stream, Gaz. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, mate? Are you good?
Hi, mate.
Yeah,
good.
Welcome.
It's good. So there was a few bits that I wanted to talk to you about, Gaz, and I know that you've been watching, and we always go to Gaz when we've got some of the questions about why these things have happened and what his opinion is on them, because sometimes we can be a little bit biased if we're watching a certain club to take part in a game of footy. But first one, mate, let's go to Liverpool. Gomez on Wirtz. Now, this to me personally, it reminded me of when Nani got sent off for Man United all those years ago. What was your take on this one? I'm still unsure.
So for me, he's late, and when I say late, he's really late. I'm telling you, he's done.
As late as Lewis was for this stream.
Yeah, exactly. He's really late, and that's part of the thought process as well for that as well, because he's that late. The other thing as well is he's caught him pretty much straight-legged, chest height, studs up, balls, like I say, well gone. For me, it's a red card every day of the week. VAR looked at it, and that the only reason I can think it's not given on the field of play or by VAR is because it's coming down. I think if he catches him straight or catches him upwards, I think VAR might go for another decision.
Now, I said this the other day. I was watching a game, and I can't remember who committed quite a nasty foul. And do you ever believe, Gaz? And I know this. I'm chucking this a little curvy at you. Do you ever believe that certain players get treated slightly differently to other players on a pitch? If you've got a bit of a reputation as a tough tackler, and you deliver that kind of challenge, do you think that refs sometimes subconsciously think, oh well, he's he's quite dirty, he's gone to do him there? Or do you think that it's every decision is quite impartial? Because I don't know with this one. Like you said, for me, this was the clearest red I've ever seen. What I mean, is that a thing? Maybe.
I don't think it is. Whenever I'm on the field of play, I don't go out and think that player there, I need to watch them for tackles, or I manage them differently. So, for example, if I know a player likes to put a tackle in, the certain comments I'll come out with before he goes, steady, watch yourself, things like that. But you can't prevent a player doing what they want to do. You can try and give them little warnings and things like that, but you can't stop them. If they're going to go in there and put a big tackle in, they're going to put a big tackle in. It doesn't matter what you say. And you just need to be in that position to deliver the correct outcome and the correct sanction. And that's what you can do. You can't go out thinking he or she's going to stick one on him. Because
well done, mate. You're still very much part of the referees' union with that answer. Well played. Keeping his nose nice and clean there, guys. Well done, mate. Bukayo Saka in the build-up to the corner for the winning goal at Arsenal. In your outside position, I think that was clear.
Yeah.
That wasn't given. What was the thinking there? Have they got it right, first of all?
They've got it right. That's correct. Yeah, it's definitely correct. You're all going to think I'm just backing everyone now, aren't you? But no, it's right, because there's four main things that we think of when we're talking about impact. Of first of all, preventing the player being able to play the ball. He doesn't prevent the defender playing the ball at all. He doesn't actually challenge for the ball. He just runs. So he's not challenged for the ball. So that's that one not ticked. Clearly attempted to play the ball. He doesn't attempt to play the ball. The only one that's maybe I can see other people's thinking on is making an obvious action which impacts the defender. Again, in my opinion, he doesn't do that either. He very much literally just runs, and the defender makes a decision. He has a decision where he just lets that ball go over the top of his head, or he like he says, hits the top of his head and goes out for a corner. And it all comes down to that's that offside, but also we look at defender deflection. I had a game at Bristol City the other day where the ladies put the ball's played through, player's offside, and it's actually clipped her leg. But she's stretching. She can't play the ball in a controlled manner. So therefore, we go back to the original kick. So there's a lot of instances. I find AR in now a lot harder than what it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, because there's so much to think about.
Mate, it feels like there's several criteria in play there, and
there is.
There's the black, there's the grey, and the white, and the grey for me is a big old grey bit at the minute. So yeah, I can see why some would be aggrieved with it, and I can see why I can see your point of view and how you've explained it.
Yeah. But even then, VAR can't look at it yet, because all it is gone for a corner. It's not impacted a goal. Yes, corner.
Again, another little loophole for us to get our heads around. It can't intervene on that because of that, and it's all fun and games. Hwang Hee-chan on Lewis Skelly got away with a yellow in this one. Do we think that was potentially there was more to this?
He's come from quite far back. He really has, and on the pitch he slid quite a long way as Hee-Wang. But you can see him pulling out of it. You can actually see him. Yes, he catches him. I think he catches him about ankle height. He's trying to pull out of the challenge, and I think that's why the referee's gone the way he has. There's not speed. There's not intensity. He's trying to pull out of it, and therefore I think the referees had a bit of empathy for the game and looked at it from all them aspects. Which is, I can't remember who the referee was now. But he's done really well to take all that into consideration at once to then, in my opinion, deliver the correct outcome. Any
notion that Hwang's quite a nice guy, never done a bad foul in his life, and maybe got away with one because of who he was? For me, I think sometimes these things play their part. But no, I appreciate you coming on, Gaz, and clearing some of those up for us, because honestly, if one thing winds me up about the game, sometimes it's the little inconsistencies or what I deem them to be. And yeah, I'm not always right, but sometimes I think it's good to get you on to explain it for us. Just to back what I was saying, David Morwood, my pal, late Gaz. He was late. It was the following day, mate. He wasn't just late. He got the right mate. So yeah, unlucky, but no, thanks for explaining. So in terms of the table, boys, just gonna get this up for us now. Arsenal at the top there, it's not all green for them at the moment, and Manchester City now have got 4 in a row. But the form team and the guy I wanted to mention was Unai Emery. The form on Aston Villa there is absolutely incredible, isn't it? Considering what he's got to work with, and that's not derogatory towards Villa, they're in an outstanding position, and the run they're on is also an outstanding run, Lewis.
Yeah, and they've got a strong mentality as well. You know, albeit they won at a struggling West Ham at the weekend, but they won away from home and they were trailing that game as well. So not only have they got quality and some depth, they've got the mentality to come back in games as well. I wouldn't completely write off that it could be a 3-horse race. You would think Arsenal and City would have a bit too much strength in depth for them, but they're there and they're there on merit.
And Crystal Palace doing well as well. Glasner, obviously, I said this the other day, didn't I, about losing Elise and losing Eze. That mean they were the 2 star men there. What sort of a job is he doing there? Dunny, have you got any thoughts on Crystal Palace? And you know, obviously now they've won a trophy. They were the team that we always said we didn't want to be because they were always 15th in the league, never quite getting good enough to get relegated, or poor enough to get relegated, but never quite good enough to do anything. Is there a prospect for them to get themselves into Europe this season?
I think Europe's on the cards. I don't think Champions League. I don't think they're going to push them sort of top 4s, because I think Liverpool will become better anyway, and they'll start pushing up. But top 7, why not? Why not? They won a trophy already. Confidence is there.
Absolutely. And Liverpool, have they sort of stopped the rot a little bit now, do we think?
I'm not convinced, actually. I don't know. Liverpool are hit and miss at the moment. I think they'll come good eventually. I really do. But yeah, you don't know what teams can turn up, do you? Week in, week out with them at the moment.
Well, I think it's been quite unpredictable, similar to the Championship this season, obviously. Just want to thank you for coming on, Gaz, to be honest. And
Anytime,
no more so than our pal Brett. Came here for Batman and the Mountain, stayed for the Man in Black, Gaz done. So a nice little mention for you, mate.
Cheers, Brett.
Yeah, it's a little bit of kudos that. So well done. And also down at the bottom there, a couple of sides there for me with 2 managers that I do really, really admire in Frank and Eddie Howe. Are they underachieving, those 2 clubs as we look at them now? Are their jobs in question? I know Lewis has already posed that question to me. Eddie Howe, I mean, are we worried about him at all, or is he going to be all right?
I think he'll be all right. I think they need to sort out their away form, though. I think the win they got at Everton recently was their first win away from home, an emphatic one. But they need to pick up on that if they're going to push towards the top end of the table, which in many people's minds is where they should be. Got to pick themselves up now after losing the big derby as well, which is a bit of a blow for them, and they've got to show a strong mentality now as they go into the second half of the season.
Mate, for me as well, also, I'm not sure if anyone else feels like this, but does it not feel like Bournemouth, Fulham and Brentford were all having slightly better seasons than they actually are? I just had this feeling that they were so far away from it. But if you look at that, Leeds United on 16 points, West Ham are slightly, they've sort of stopped their little rot and they're going for it. Leeds as well. It's all very tight down there, isn't it?
It is, and Brentford are the weird one for me, because I would say with Bournemouth, the reason for their league position, in terms of thinking, well, they were having a better season than they perhaps are, is that their form seems to have dropped off a cliff in the last 5 or 6 games. Obviously, they picked up a point Monday night. Fulham are a funny side in terms of, generally, traditionally quite strong at home. They've got good players at the top of the pitch, as we mentioned earlier. Sometimes they can look great, and sometimes they can look a little bit non-existent. Brentford are the strange one for me, because I've largely been impressed by them and really haven't seen too many poor performances or downturns in form from them. But there they are, and it's possibly because of what you suggested. The division is just so tight, and there's a lot of teams in that middle bit that can beat each other.
And the form of the 2 at the bottom, that slide needs to stop soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, you look at the it's a stark contrast, isn't there, with the bottom 2 teams down there. Just you look at that alarming form there from them both. But it's going to be interesting coming into, and I don't think I'm moved on my opinion that Leeds and West Ham will decide that third spot. But it's going to be very interesting. You might get one or two dragged in there, just so tight after that bottom two.
Well, yeah, it does remain to be seen, and there might be some wedge chucked at it, obviously, in the January window, and that might alter the picture as well. But it's still pretty tight down there, and a couple of wins for any of them, and it's absolutely game on. But lads, thank you for joining me tonight. Thanks for Gaz for coming in and shedding some light, and Lewis, obviously, with your dossier of information that we can't do without. Really doing a good job for us. So appreciate you joining us tonight. And join us for the next one, guys. All aboard the championship, incoming in about 5 minutes, maybe even quicker. All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks all.